Hi, and very much welcome to this seminar entitled Facelifting the Baltic Sea Region. During this seminar, we will talk about how new actors, new perspectives, and new technologies in regional cooperation can help to vitalize and rejuvenate cooperation in our Baltic Sea region. My name is Mikael Olsson, and I will moderate this session. We're on a quite tight schedule. I work with the Swedish institute that is organizing this event, and the reception and vernissage that will follow, together with the Secretariat of the Council of the Baltic Sea States, CBSS, and the Lithuanian Embassy in Stockholm. Again, welcome everybody. My own background is in what in the 80s used to be called East European Area Studies. And just like everyone else with such interests, and with an interest in the parts of Europe cut off by the Iron Curtain, it felt fantastic that European Union devoted its first ever macro-regional strategy to this region. However, with joy and pride comes concern. Such is the nature of parenthood, be it virtual or real. And in our case, it's been concerned with the long-term well-being of this strategy, its vitality. And with this vitality in mind, the Swedish Institute and CBSS established the pilot project called the Balticlab. That is the actual reason that we gathered here today for this seminar. The Balticlab program, and there is information about the Balticlab program around here in terms of brochures, etc. The Balticlab program has been running during this spring for the first time under the informal motto of not only men in suits. An underlying aim of the program has been to bring new actors and new perspectives into the processes that are underpinning the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. The method that we chose to bring these new perspectives into the process was to try to motivate and train young talents from around the region to get involved in regional cooperation. People with no prior relation to or experience from such activities, and people from backgrounds and milieux that we thought to be lacking in the discussions and enactment of the strategy. In this sense, one could talk about that we try to achieve the goal of rejuvenation through transplantation, bringing new people with new ideas into our circles, and then not only people with suits. During the program, which has run from April up until today, 20 young professionals, average age of 24 years, worked to produce project prototypes or project ideas that could A, help them to learn about regional cooperation, and could help us all to get new insights and new ideas and new perspectives of what could be done in regional cooperation. And C, possibly also enacted. Maybe these ideas will become a reality because they are all great ideas. We will soon have 4 such project ideas presented by the participants of the program. And our ambition is that these presentations shall help to inspire the general discussion of the seminar, where the main question to be addressed is how to find a balance between continuity on the one hand and rejuvenation on the other hand in the policy making that underpins the Baltic Sea region cooperation. To try to find a balance between stability and rejuvenation. Before we put these people on stage, though, we are very, very happy to welcome Mr. Oskar Wåglund Söderström, State Secretary to the Minister for EU Affairs, to give an introduction and brief us on the Swedish ambitions to keep the EU strategy as a living and engaging process. Please, Oskar, stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you to the organizers. Thanks to the Swedish Institute and to the Council of Baltic Sea States, and to the Lithuanian Embassy, who has also made this possible. Everywhere I go in Almedalen here, I tend to run into this man, the Lithuanian ambassador, so I think we have a very active presidency ahead of us. Also welcome, well, to those of you not from here, welcome to Gotland. You are now right in the center of the Baltic Sea. This was also the case 25 years ago, but then this was also the Swedish easternmost outpost in the Baltic Sea and towards the east. very close, just a few miles away to the Iron Curtain that then divided the Baltic Sea between west and east. At that time, just in the late 80s, regional cooperation in this region was restricted to cooperation between Sweden, Denmark, and Finland, simply because the others did not really mentally exist for us who lived on the western side. 25 years later, now it's 2013, 8 out of 9 states around the Baltic Sea are equal partners, equal members of the European Union. We share the same common set of values about democracy, human rights, fundamental freedoms, and market economy. Borders like passport controls and customs are history. You can travel between Gotland, or maybe not Gotland, but from Stockholm to Tallinn, for instance, without showing your passport. It's an enormous progress. We're part of the same single market. We share the same laws and regulations in a way that was not even possible to think of just 25 years ago. This has made regional cooperation in the Baltic possible, but also not only possible, but also necessary. We simply depend on each other. And this also goes for third countries, as we call it in EU language, third countries. In this case, it means Russia. Many administrative barriers remain to the 9th Baltic Sea state, which is Russia, of course. But cooperation and exchange between Russia and the European Union part of the Baltic is still very active. Back in history, the Baltic Sea was not a divider, but actually a unifying factor. Visby was flourishing during the Hanseatic epoch. You can see the remnants here today, for instance, the Great Wall surrounding Visby, which is dating back to the 13th century, I think. What we need to do now is to restore this kind of regional cooperation. We need more of regional cooperation and exchange, and we need more regional integration. Because we have many great challenges that we share, all the countries and people around the region. If you just look a few miles or a few meters even outside Gotland, you can see that the seabed is completely dead due to decades of pollution and eutrophication. It's an enormous problem. The fish that we can fish here is unhealthy to eat. We have still great economic differences between the countries in the Baltic. We have Estonia, for instance, which has about 1/3 of the GNP per capita compared to Sweden. We have Latvia, Poland, and Lithuania with even less figures. Hopefully, I can say the situation is very hopeful, though, because the 3 Baltic states in the east have come out of the crisis through hard work. The region is also divided if you look at infrastructure, for instance, in terms of transport and energy. This really reflects the situation as it was 20 years ago. It's very difficult to travel between the capitals. In the beginning, I said it's not maybe possible to travel without a passport from Gotland to Estonia, because there is simply no flight. If we would have more of a network of exchange and more of a network of infrastructure, it would be much more easy. The situation is quite problematic, especially economically, particularly in the eastern part of the Baltic. Still, we have a remaining psychological Iron Curtain. Many Swedes have never visited Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, or Poland. This also creates obstacles to integration in the region. But the EU membership that we share creates perfect conditions for cooperation in a range of different fields, and now it's up to us to reap the benefits. And this is the whole idea of the Baltic Sea strategy. I know the World Bank has once said that the EU is like a convergence machine, because nowhere else you can find rich and poor regions in the world so closely interlinked with each other. And they are made rich through cooperation and through trading goods and services. Because if we use the right tools, I think we can tackle all these challenges that I mentioned. And one tool is, of course, to make creative minds, young talents come together. This will provide new perspectives on how to further innovation and integration around the Baltic Sea. Because one reason is that future generations of future decision makers are not tainted by the same preconceptions of the other side of the Baltic Sea. There is now much more knowledge and experience from people of the other side. Younger people have much more access to information and channels for cooperation. This is why this flagship project that we're going to discuss here today, Balticlab for Creative Industries, is very encouraging, an exciting starting point. Because it's just through innovation and entrepreneurship that economy can grow, and that we can make this region the most competitive and creative corner of Europe. We have 3 different objectives for the Baltic Sea strategy. It's save the sea, we need to connect the region, and we need to increase prosperity. These are bold objectives. They are very difficult to reach, of course. And it can only be realized through new and innovative ideas. And for this purpose, we need more of people-to-people contact to bring new generations together and new ideas together that will connect the region. But the thing is, this kind of integration can never come from above. It can never be decided by the state. Success depends on contribution of all levels of society. We're talking about municipalities and regions, public authorities, NGOs, and academia. Governments can only be a facilitator, a door opener for dynamic and creative ideas. I think involving young and creative minds in the Baltic Sea region as drivers for both innovation and integration is then a very promising endeavor for this region. Thanks again. I'm really looking forward to see the presentations about this promising project and hope the seminar will be productive and very thought-provoking. Thanks very much.
Before you leave the stage, Oscar, may I just ask, do you see that there is a special need, not for a strategy, but for strategic thinking in order to bring especially then you and young people who do not have the backdrop of Cold War into this process?
Yes, definitely there is, because if we're going to develop this region in the way that we need to save the sea, we need to connect the region and all these kind of things, we need new people to come in to have clear and creative ideas to do it. And that's why I think we need a special concentration of these kind of things. It cannot be done by governments and authorities only. It needs to be done by people to people. That's the whole thing, I think.
Okay, thank you. And now the first presentation will be by Ali and Magda, who will be talking about Project Little Brother. I give the floor to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Magda, and I'm from Poland.
And hi, my name is Ali. I am from Sweden.
Also in our team are two other members who are not here, but they're from Lithuania. However, today we are here as citizens of the Baltic Sea region. And this is a day we've been really looking forward to because we're really excited to introduce an innovation that we're very, very proud of. This is a project for the development of the Baltic Sea region that we have created with the Balticlab and the communication agency, Volontaire. And we have pointed out that the EUSBSR, the CBSS, the Baltic Development Forum, and the EU Commission have some common goals, and these can be summarized as improving accessibility, amplifying information, and increasing engagement. Or maybe the EU Commission put it best. There is a need for a communication initiative that efficiently distributes information on activities through a channel for a wider public in the region. If you think of Almedalen and the number of events going on in this week, how many can we attend at a single time? We're limited to only one. This innovation, however, gives everyone who is interested in this information a green light. They might be other policymakers within the region, journalists who are somewhere else at the time, citizens or researchers. And now I will let Ali explain to you what this great innovation is.
Thank you, Magda. So this is Project Little Brother, a communication innovation that reduces the information gap between closed gatherings and the wider public. This innovation combines existing technologies in a completely new way for anyone to use with minimal effort. It enables you to record, broadcast, and describe physical meetings, creating a unique searchable documentation. And this is happening. We are doing it right here in Almedalen. This seminar will be available for anyone to access afterwards. Also, we are looking forward, hoping to bring this innovation to annual forum in Lithuania later this autumn. Project Little Brother targets important activities in the Baltic Sea region, improving their accessibility, amplifying their information, and increases engagement. Project Little Brother is citizen diplomacy in action to develop the Baltic Sea region. Thank you for listening, and please join us at projectlittlebrother.org or ask us further questions after this.
May I ask, is there something behind this website? Can you actually go in and see something there?
Absolutely. So this also happened once already. We did this in Kaliningrad for about 2 weeks ago or something. And there you can see how this happens in real, how you can access and search through this documentation and the innovation behind it.
Okay, thank you.
So visit the website, please.
And next we have representatives from a new idea about innovation, Mind Mill, and it's going to be represented by Brian. I'm not sure. No, yes. We have 2 representatives of the project, and you can all talk to them. 3, sorry. You can all talk to them more afterwards. Brian.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name's Brian, and my other teammates, Indra, Agneta, and Janin, are in the audience today. And when our team was brought together by the Balticlab a few months ago, we didn't know what the outcome would be. But we did know early on that we wanted the creative industries to be a part of it. So all of us come from different backgrounds, different countries, and different professional experiences. Marketing, PR, business, entrepreneurship, and design. And through our personal professional experiences, one thing that we've all learned is the value that creativity can add to organizations and to businesses. And through our experience at Balticlab, we saw how multidisciplinary teams, when they're brought together, they can really come up with innovative ideas and new solutions for problems that are presented to them. They can also develop new ideas for problems that may not have been addressed or understood to begin with. And creativity leads to these innovative new ideas, and it gives new perspective. And we think that one of the best opportunities for that is young creative people. And in the Baltic Sea region right now, we noticed that the creative industry is very small at this point. It's not celebrated and it's not recognized the way it should be. So what we wanted to do was transform the Baltic Sea region into the most creative place for business on the continent. And the way we wanted to do that is by bringing creative young people together and helping them jumpstart their careers, and at the same time connecting them with businesses and organizations that have yet to realize how valuable creativity can be. So we wanted to do this by creating a place, an actual physical place where these young individuals can come together for a dedicated amount of time and work on a lot of the problems that Oscar talked about earlier that are already affecting the Baltic Sea region. And that place is called Mind Mill.
Sound.
Innovative ideas. At the Mind Mill, creativity and business are brought together to produce new, innovative solutions.
We do it from the beginning.
What if the Baltic Sea region was known around the world for its creativity? Mind Mill, the Baltic Department of Innovative Ideas. At the Mind Mill, creativity and business are brought together to produce new, innovative solutions that address our most pressing concerns, from raw ideas to refined solutions. So what is the Mind Mill? It's a space, an actual physical space. Each quarter, the mill will select 6 to 10 of the region's most creative young minds to be immersed in several months of innovative idea development. It's a carefully curated co-working space with a purpose. Different nationalities, different skills, and different experience. As a participant, you will be assigned briefs provided by either private or public organizations which require innovative thinking, teamwork, and new solutions. For example, projects could include creating fully recyclable coffee cups for a growing coffee shop chain, developing a sand purification system for cleaner beaches around the Baltic Sea, prototyping vertical urban gardens suitable for small houses in the cities. Projects are selected very carefully. Every project addressed at the mill will be filtered through the core objectives of the European Union strategy for the Baltic Sea region, connecting the region, saving the sea, and increasing prosperity. You will also have guidance when needed. There will be a board of mentors, both business-minded and creative. And before you leave, there's a public event. Your work will be publicized. After participating at the Mind Mill, you will have actual work experience, together with the best names in the industry, countless new connections for your future creative and business projects. A project of international importance that you help to accomplish in your portfolio. Mind Mill, transforming the Baltic Sea region into the most creative place for business on the continent.
So the Mind Mill is something right now that's just an idea, but we think that with the right partners, it's something that could take place, could exist, and could really benefit the region. So if you want more information, you can talk to us, or you could visit themindmill.eu. Thank you.
Brian, before you leave, could you say one thing about what differentiates this idea from, say, existing incubators with a design focus?
Well, a lot of the existing incubators is kind of an entrepreneur who comes with his own idea already. This idea is taking some of these people that have that ambition and that passion already, but handing them projects that will benefit the area where they live. And what this does is it gives them the opportunity to have real-world experience and learn a lot of things that could help them in their own independent projects later. So it sets it apart because they're given specific projects to work on. So,
okay, thank you. And now, next on stage, we will hear about not shipping, but about an idea based on design that involves a ship. Baltic design ship. We have Eva, John, and Eitvydas somewhere here. Yes, thank you.
Hello, everyone. We are the Baltic design ship. It's Eva from Tallinn, it's Eitvydas from Klaipėda, and I'm from Stockholm, John. Just before I applied for the Balticlab, I didn't see myself as part of the Baltic Sea region. I saw myself as a Scandinavian. Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, that was Eastern Europe for me. And Germany, well, Germany is Germany and Russia is Russia. For me, that shows a lack of identity. And this is not how it used to be. This is not how people used to see the region. I don't know if you heard about Hansa. Maybe you read about it back in school. But that was back in the days when we used to be a prosperous region with high commercial and trade values. So all that we're having now is a bad day in the course of history. This is the reality of everyday life in the region. So how do we make the bad day end? Now, imagine this ship arriving in Visby and inviting citizens to join the dialogue on board.
On board of the ship, you would have a 3,000 square meters exhibition hall, which is a size of a football field. The car deck would be rebuilt into an interactive space for you and everyone to visit. We would have over 200 cabins with access to workspaces and workshops for rent. Design to us is not just a logo on a website or a logo on a business card. To us, it means creative problem solving. Whether it would be in a concept development, whether it would be in business or even in politics. This is why we want to combine the potential of people from different disciplines. The most outstanding creative minds in the region would be renting studios on the ship for various periods of time for up to 6 months. They would contribute about 20% of their time to work together on interdisciplinary projects, including development of new products, facilitating workshops, and giving presentations for citizens. At first, this concentrated creative hub will be going from one Baltic city to another. Then, the ship will continue to other parts of the world, marketing the Baltic design globally.
Now, I don't know if you heard about the Nordic Cool event. That's a project that flew 700 people to Washington for 1 month to promote the Nordic countries. The cost of that was slightly more than the average phone bill, yet it has paid off. This is just one organization going to one city. We would like to take all 9 countries of the Baltic Sea region and visit 23 cities. If each country would have done this separately, so every country would go to 23 different cities, it would be equal to 207 worldwide exhibitions. If we market a region as one, not only are we going to be cost efficient, there's no doubt the marketing will be more effective.
We are really glad for the help we receive from these institutions and organizations who have joined us on the journey. At this very moment, we are in the process of constructing a virtual ship online, what is the first phase of our project. So, come on board, as we do not want to have another bad day.
Thank
you.
And if I understand it correctly, you actually started trying to raise funds for this.
Yeah, we already applied for the CBSS funding, and we're going to apply for the Swedish Institute funding as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And also, there is a donate button on the website, so everybody who wants this Baltic ship to happen, please chip in.
Thank you. And now, as the last project design or project prototype presentation, we have Social Innovation Baltic. It's Ileana and Kristina who will come up and join us here. Please.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ileana, and I'm glad to be here and to present you our project, Social Innovation Baltic. I'm from Russia, and Kristina is originally from Russia, and she lives in Germany. Our mission is to connect social innovators for good. We aim to construct a web-based platform in order to connect social entrepreneurs in different countries of the Baltic Sea region and make this collaboration easier. We are changers, and we have a strong belief that we can change social reality through actions and through social innovations. And we believe that there is a huge innovation potential residing in social entrepreneurs and in organizations that they form. As Bill Drayton, one of the well-known social entrepreneurs in the world, said, social entrepreneurs are critical in the way they think, and they have a vision, and they will not stop until they revolutionize the whole industry they work in. Here is the map of the Baltic Sea region, and the total amount of social entrepreneurs in the Baltic Sea region is more than 2 million people. That can be compared to the population of Latvia, for example, or it's twice more than population of Estonia. So we see that social innovators have a very big potential, and of course this potential has to be developed. Through international cooperation, social entrepreneurs in the Baltic Sea region might be able to mitigate environmental social problems in the Baltic Sea region connected to, for example, education, healthcare, marine pollution, environmental problems, or any others. And we started our project with a research, and we contacted social entrepreneurs in different countries of the Baltic Sea region, and we found out that social entrepreneurs are not satisfied with the tools that already exist, and they do need new tools of connection and of collaboration between each other. And our web-based platform is going to meet these needs. And how it is going to satisfy needs of social entrepreneurs, my colleague Kristina is going to continue.
As a part of our idea, we identified functions of the platform which have already attracted some potential users. Our platform includes such fields as news, database, idea bank, or problem desk. News. The platform offer space for some sources or articles in order to find new opportunities and new contact to people, and also establish transparency cooperation through knowledge exchange. Database. Our potential users will be required to register on the platform, where they will easily find some contact details from potential users and also about fields in which they already work. Idea bank. If you have an idea and don't really know how bring it into action, you can just put it in our idea bank, and then you can easily find some partners who will also help you with it. And you can also find not only partners, but also a co-founder. And in this case, you can match people of vision with people of skills. Problem desk. If you have any problems with your project or with your idea, and you don't really know what to do next, just write it down, put it in our problem desk, and you will easily find all information what you need. So, what's about benefits of our platform? First of all, it could facilitate the knowledge exchange between more developed countries of northern and western coast of the Baltic Sea region and less advanced countries in eastern and southern coast of the region. Secondly, collaboration and cooperation across the region might be simplified by easily finding ideas and new partners. Thirdly, some internal interests from individuals can be discussed and some problems can be solved. The Baltic Sea region does not really exist in a people's minds yet, but in the vision of the European Union. The European Union strategy for the Baltic Sea region includes a number of priority areas like saving the sea, increasing of prosperities, and connecting of the region. Through reaching entrepreneurial people across the region who is also active, we hope to build a community of ambassadors in order to spread the word about this potential. In the long run, it can grow for future prosperity of the Baltic Sea region. At this point, we have found some potential partners who can be interested in our web-based platform. We are also looking for new partners and new ideas. And if you have some offers or some contact details, you can speak to us after our presentation. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for 4 excellent presentations. We're now going to invite 3 more people to stage, Ms. Helén Nilsson, Mr. Lundin, and also Mr. Ambassador Eitvydas Bajarunas. And we're going to hear not only comments on the projects, but also we're going to hear about some key issues that your respective organization actually can contribute to this process of rejuvenation. After that, we will invite yet some panelists for external comments on what we've heard. But now, Ms. Helén Nilsson.
I am so inspired, and let me start to say that the Swedish Institute's task and duty is to stimulate and support integration in the Baltic Sea region, our region. And today, more than 100 ongoing projects receive funding from us, the Swedish Institute, and we have close contact and cooperation with the implementers, stakeholders, partners established in the region since long time, both nationally and internationally. These current initiatives are all important and make a difference and are very much linked to the objectives of the EU strategy mentioned before, of course. But it's nevertheless important that we get new actors into this ongoing process. This is a process with a long history, started many years ago, with many of us with good memories, from that history and that time. However, to maintain the energy and the drive of this process and the development in our region, it is important that we include and integrate the younger generation into this important work and for them to feel ownership of the EU strategy, the future work together, and at the same time bring new solutions to the common challenges. This is something that the Swedish Institute wants to be part of, and I am very proud, I'm very happy for our engagement in the project, the Balticlab. As new in my position at the Swedish Institute and the Baltic Sea Unit, I haven't been able to follow all of you through the process, but I am extremely happy to be part of and to be able to listen to you today. And I also would like to also refer to the ideas we have heard, and also refer to the passion you showed during your presentation for your ideas, as well as it makes me also very pleased and happy to know that Swedish Institute will be part of this cooperation in the future, and also have been involved to initiate the project as well. And I am also not surprised to know that the Commission has selected the Balticlab as one of the flagship project in the EU. We, the Swedish Institute, would like to continue or will work for that the thoughts behind this project will live on, and even might to try to help to realize some of the ideas. We and many of us need to think about how we can use, how we can pick up, and how we can change through the ideas that you have developed. And we, all of us, constantly need to remind us that ownership is something that is includes all of us and every one of us. And you, the creative talents from Lithuania, Poland, Russia, Sweden, the Baltic Sea region, members of the project Little Brother, the Mind Mill, the Baltic Designship, and the Social Innovation Baltic, I really, really would like to thank you for all your work. And that is that your work aiming to provide all of us with the new perspectives in relation to innovation and integration in our region. I also would like to take the opportunity to thank my colleagues who have been working with the Balticlab, Mikael, Olga, Åsa, and I'm sure many others at the Baltic Sea Unit at the Swedish Institute. And as well, say thank you to to Jan, to the CBSS, and the cooperation. And with that, also give you the floor.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, yes, it works. I think the title of the seminar was Not Only Men in Suits, so I don't have a suit, but I do have one at times, and so I'm supposed to be the stuffy part of the seminar, and I have a PowerPoint presentation which fits that. It's going to be quick, I promise. 21 years, we've been around for 21 years, and I lead the Secretariat in Stockholm, the CBSS Secretariat, which is one of many reflections on the fact that there is no more generous nation in Baltic Sea cooperation than Sweden. There's no state which is more supportive of regional cooperation in the Baltic Sea region than Sweden. I would argue that. Being Swedish, of course, it's natural, but I'm working for the Baltic Sea now. But still, Sweden finances the premises, lovely premises in Stockholm. And Sweden is quite active, and Sweden has been a driving force in the creation of the EU-Baltic Sea strategy, which is a good thing for the region. It's part of the rejuvenation of the Baltic Sea cooperation, which we are all longing for. The second phase of the Baltic Sea strategy will be a success story. I'm quite convinced of that, and I know State Secretary Wåglund is working hard behind the scenes to make that happen with his team. And also Balticlab is part of this rejuvenation. And thank you to the Swedish Institute for working and suggesting this idea. We have cooperated in developing it, and we are very pleased with being part of the Balticlab story and many other things which we do together with the Swedish Institute, which again shows how active Sweden is. I mean, there's slightly less than 100 million Swedish crowns a year, I think, for regional cooperation in the Swedish Institute budget. There is no comparison. There is no other nation which does as much. I mean, I'd like to stress that here in Almedalen. So, the next slide. These are the men in suits. There's a woman too. That's the Swedish Foreign Minister Margareta af Ugglas, and it's 1992. It's March 6, 1992 in Copenhagen. This is the creation of the CBSS. This is just after the fall of the Soviet Union. There are only 2 countries, members of the EU at that time. Guess which ones? Germany. Yes, Germany was one. That's right. Yes. So those are the 2 who took the initiative to this. There are those who say that Sweden was there too. Taking the initiative. It's hazy. The history hasn't been written yet. But so Sten Andersson might not agree, or who became foreign minister after, or who was foreign minister before Margareta af Ugglas. Still, this is an important event. This was about helping those who wanted in the post-Soviet world, becoming members of the European Union if they wanted, but also to become sustainable states. It was not at this point evident that the road was clear to the EU membership. It was not at this point evident. So, next slide, please. This is last year. This is Stralsund, and those are whales in the air. If you read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you know whales can hang in the air. And they do that in Stralsund. This is the summit, the Baltic Sea Summit. And Mrs. Merkel is hosting, and it's the 20 years jubilee also of CBSS, you could argue. So Germany was chair then, and we discussed energy security. And now everyone is member of the EU. That's quite something, except Russia, except Norway and Iceland. But it's quite something nevertheless. I mean, we must we must realize what a success this has been. I mean, we are remarkably more affluent, and this goes for Russia too. This region is remarkably more affluent today than it was 20 years ago. And we should be happy. We should realize that. Next slide. This is Kaliningrad. This is last year. It could be in a few weeks' time because we are going there again. This is a youth camp. This is the CBSS youth camp situated at the Baltic Arctic youth camp in Kaliningrad. It's part of the EU-Baltic Sea Strategy Project World. And again, cooperation with the Swedish Institute. Thank you. I mean, it went well. We brought... this has been a Russian youth camp before, but now we brought others there too. We made young people come together and talk about everything. This is not a very ideological thing. It's people-to-people context, and they discuss sustainable lifestyles. A great thing, and you should go there. I mean, it's a lovely part of the Baltic Sea. It certainly is. And there will be Football World Championships in Kaliningrad 2018. Prepare. Next slide. So this is what we do, how we work today. 2008, there was a reflection on what the CBSS was for. Now then, that everybody who wanted was part of the EU, and shouldn't one close the CBSS down? And the answer was no, but the CBSS has to become more project-oriented. And this is the project policy loop. We have 5 long-term priorities established at that time. And we work on developing projects along those priorities. And Balticlab I regard as economic development, to be quite honest. I mean, create your own job. That's the message from Balticlab. We have to be creative about jobs in the region, especially for youth. Next slide. And this is the hidden assets of the CBSS world. It's all the networks we have. There are more networks than this. These are just samples. We have so many networks in the Baltic Sea between bureaucrats or ministry officials or others who have common interests in the region. And we can use them. We should use them more. They do develop projects together. They do work together. But you should be aware of this asset, because not every region has this. This is quite something for the region, because that is part of the rejuvenation effort, provided we can at times supply financing for their cooperation. And I think this is happening with the new phase of the Baltic Sea strategy. Next slide. These are our communication channels. There's nothing special, but I want you to be aware that the CBSS is there too. Next slide. And these are my small messages to the discussion we're supposed to have on how to balance continuity and rejuvenation and use existing institutions. That's a message. I think CBSS is now in the EU-Baltic Sea strategy, and that's a very good thing. It's good that the Nordic Council of Ministers is there too. It's good that HELCOM is there, and you have to use the existing institutions. Alignment of funding is coming with the Baltic Sea strategy and the new financial perspective entering into force 2014, but we have to be more creative on financing. I think there's plenty of money in this region, and we simply haven't been creative enough. We need young people like Balticlab to figure out how financing can be accessed for regional cooperation in a smarter way. There's never enough money, of course, but we need to be more creative. Then public-private partnership is not a very sexy word in Sweden, I know, but it is an important way of working together. And we have to be better at including the private sector in what we do. It can't be China's walls between the state and the private sector in regional cooperation, but we have to be better at this. And then we need more Baltic labs, and then the far future is virtual institution building. That's been tried to an extent in the Nordic cooperation, but I think we can do just as well on the Baltic Sea level. We can actually take Nordic ideas and transfer them to the Baltic Sea level, and we will find that they will work quite well. Thank you. Too long, I know, but that's me.
But it was great.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And now we give the word to Mr. Ambassador Eitvydas Bajarunas, who will talk a bit about Lithuania's priorities for the EU strategy in the...
Indeed, Mikael, thank you very much. You are even pronouncing quite okay.
Not correct.
Very close to the original. But thank you very much. I really appreciate of this opportunity. Appreciate of the enthusiasm of the Swedish Institute and the organizers of this tent to bring Baltic issues. Because if you look to the Almadalen general schedule, you won't find many Baltic and Baltic Sea issues. Surprise, surprise. The conference or the event which is bordering with the Baltic Sea. So hopefully we will see next year and in the future more and more Baltic issues in Almadalen. Why Lithuania and Baltic Sea strategy? I think this is, if it was mentioned, Sweden is enthusiast of the Baltic Sea cooperation, Lithuania is equally. Even if you look to our history, I was a student in the Soviet period, working with my wife on the Baltic Sea shore, and then you see somewhere the waves. So what is this country? Palanga, this is a resort. What is this country in front of us? We don't know. Germany? No, we shouldn't be. Finland? No. Sweden. But for us, it was the same. Which country is in front of us? Because the sea was closed. There was no communication, no even interest to know, because everything was sealed. Now we are a different world. So situation dramatically changed, and fully agree with Oscar that we shouldn't be pessimistic. There are so many positive things. EU membership of the Baltic and Poland, the new mechanisms, CBSS, new connecting lines. But still, we need to put additional efforts. And this is why Lithuania accepted quite naturally that during our half year, not much, it's very only half year, we might contribute to the Baltic Sea strategy, even for the fact that before us, Ireland, not country extremely enthusiastic not to blame Irish, but they have different priorities. Then we'll have Greece and Italy. Again, Lithuania, half year, not much, but we want to use it very heavily to bring Baltic Sea issues back to the stage, not to reinvent wheels, but to bring some new bloods. And here I fully agree with the title of the conference, bring new actors. Initially, after the Swedish presidency 2009, when the concept was adopted, there was a lot of enthusiasm, new strategy. But there was, then 2010, nothing is happening. Where are all these projects? So there are some working groups working and discussing, but there is no big buzz happening. So now I think, again, we are in different stage. We have CBSS joining this club. We have other initiatives on board. We have Swedish Institute, very important. I was really surprised when I started to learn last year visiting the Baltic Center. There is quite a dedicated Swedish government efforts to re-inject new, even financial instruments to the Baltic cooperation. Very important. Strong signal to all the countries in the region. Now I will go through very quickly through the slides. I quote Barroso. It's very important. It's not he doesn't speak about Baltic Sea, neither about strategy, but he speaks about where we stand. We stand still in economic mess. EU economy started to improve, not dramatically, but there is some signals. But still, we need to bring new quality, new thinking. And our understanding that EU macroeconomic strategies, Baltic is one of them, is new thinking. This is what is one of the driving force for Lithuania as well. This is new thinking. So think out of box. Don't go on the traditional way, creating institutions or creating new working groups. Bring new actors. Again, Balticlab, excellent idea. Bringing new actors to the stage, trying to not to reinvent, but trying to bring new thinking. Next slide. Lithuania. Again, why it is Lithuania's, where we stand. Of course, we understand that the innovation-driven, ecologically charged, fiscally responsible, socially sensitive strategies and with a green slant can lead to the growth. This is not given, but this is what we need to prove in case of the Baltic Sea. EU 2020. How many people would now remember in this, especially economic chaos? We need to still try to prove that in the regional context it might work, implementable. So we will see. Next slide. This is just some examples of Lithuania's dedication. We are quite dedicated in the context of the Baltic Sea, trying to bring our knowledge on the rural developments, crime, transport, very important issues. Again, I was using in my previous seminar the example that if you count how many flights connect Stockholm and Helsinki, nearly every hour. Stockholm and Umeå, nearly every hour. One flight connecting Vilnius and Stockholm, not much. Two or probably connecting Stockholm and Tallinn, again, not much. So this is what big issue. Thanks, Sweden, we are working together. Next slide. This is again not just example. Again, many issues Lithuania tries to bring from the Baltic Sea strategy, not least trying to push on the quite successfully on the BEMIP energy projects. Even try to share best practice with the Eastern Partnership. Again, one of the big Lithuania's EU presidency priority, and so on. BSR stars. I'm so happy that Lithuania's Minister of Economy in Vinova, the lead countries in this project. So there are many. Baltic University, again, not much develops, but still good initiative. And finally, so what Lithuania can do, next slide, what Lithuania can do. This is the few main issues for 2013. Of course, strategy was accepted at the time when there was would be, to speak about money was quite difficult. So this was conditionality. No new money, no new institutions. But then we realized after a couple of years that you can't go along without financial support. So of course we need to think how we will use European structural investment funds, national reforms program, and so on. And the final slide. This is what two Lithuania's deliverables on the Baltic Sea strategy. One of them, of course, to make the European Commission report was already issued, so we need to think of the Council conclusions as a result of as an idea to rethink, review this strategy. And forum, which was already mentioned by some of the speakers, annual forum in Vilnius where, of course, this is my final message. Welcome.
Thank you very much. We're a little behind schedule, so we'll immediately invite comments from external experts on aspects of this, and we will begin not with the Jan Lundin that we heard previously, but with Mr. Jan Lundin, President of Swedish Travel and Tourist Industry Federation, because he will be on his way, but we could also take on stage Mr. Klaus Hahn and Mr. Oskar Wåglund Söderström again. Please.
We can just leave him here. You will have the same guy. It's a different Jan Lundin. He's the guy with the suit. I'm with the non-suit guy.
And you're, in this sense, experts. We'd heard excellent presentations of project ideas, and we'd heard the policy ambitions. And briefly, what are your reflections upon this? Is this a viable way forward? Do we get rejuvenation? Are these good ideas, etc.?
I think from my perspective, I was very excited to be here. Quite honestly, this is a well-spent hour for me. I represent the private sector in the travel industry, and obviously, from my perspective, we work in a global world, and it's just amazing. We haven't even tapped the potential of working with our close neighbors. And we are very much for building a relationship between entrepreneurs on this side of the Baltic and the other side, and we have initiated some of those steps already, but we need those tools that you guys are talking about, those social inventions, because that's really what's missing. We need to build those bridges between companies, between entrepreneurs, and especially what we are very excited about is create new exciting jobs for the new generation. That's what we need to focus on.
Klaus, what's your impressions of the...
Overall, I think we only can build this region by individual meetings, and I think that's what this Balticlab project really proves, that the ideas we can create together will build this region. And I think one of the things I see more and more, because it came up a couple of times here, I think the general public still doesn't see this as a region. It doesn't exist as a region. So the more individual contacts we can make, and the more we can work also on communicating to the general public. And since I represent a communication agency, that's obviously what I'm talking about. But I think we need to increase our efforts in that area very much. I think it's right that we start and have started in the last 20 years with a focus on government and authorities. But as we heard before, I think if we get in the private sector and if we start communicating to the general public to a much greater extent, then we have a chance to build this region to what it really should be.
And do you think that we had the title also of technology? Do you think the use of technology in these representations, not only the one that you've been involved in yourself, but do you think it's innovative use of it? We had the different platforms, etc.
Definitely, in every single of the projects we see that, and that makes this work possible. So I think just the initiative is absolutely excellent. And I really hope that an initiative like the Balticlab will continue, that some of the projects really will be implemented in reality. And technology obviously helps us bring all this together. But I think key questions like we just heard on transportation between the countries, we have to work on those in parallel.
Thank you. Before we let in the audience, if you have any questions, raise your hands and you will be given a microphone in a little bit. But before that, I'd also like to hear, maybe not last words, but your comments and impressions.
Thank you. It's very hard to disagree from what everyone said. I think these very inspiring presentations, and two of them were really my favorites. I took really good interest in them. I think they answer the questions on how should we work together more efficiently and how should we find partners. Because, I mean, a challenge here with a big sea in between us is that it's a little bit hard to travel. How can we find partners, for instance, through social media? And I think this first project there was extremely interesting. And also the one on social innovation I find very, very interesting. some also brought up the issue of Baltic identity, saying that first of all, he thought he was Scandinavian. Scandinavian is also an identity because Scandinavia consists of 2 or 3 countries, depending on how you count it. But trying to create this Baltic identity, I think, is very, very important if you're going to take on the challenge of becoming the creative corner of Europe, which I would like to see at least. Somebody also mentioned that this is just a parenthesis in history. We just had a bad day when it comes to a crisis in the economy and all that, because we used to have a big, trading pattern between the east and the west of the Baltic Sea, and then we had this parenthesis, and now we're coming back to it. And I hope so, really, because we need to do it. And I think it's realistic to believe that we can do it, because let's say that big parts of especially southern Europe are stuck with enormous dinosaur economies in a way. They have big regulated economies with difficult structures to bake up. Here I think we have a different mindset. First we have the western part of the Baltic with quite modern economies, but also the eastern part, which have showed enormous courage and enormous skills to come out of the crisis with very much of creativity. And I think this could really be used into something very useful for the whole region, of course. You also mentioned, the importance of the private sector, and of course that's absolutely crucial. What we've been discussing since 2009 very much is to create the framework together with the strategy. That is part of the framework for more cooperation, for more of exchange. But this cannot be done by the government or by any municipalities or public authorities. This needs to be done by the business sector, because business is done by the business sector, not by the state, obviously. So I think this is a perfect beginning here. Thank you.
Thank you. And we had 2-3 questions. We can stretch the time a little bit, 2-3 minutes. We own also the hour after here when we have a reception. So please.
Okay. Before I introduce myself, I want to ask everyone to reflect on which territory you think about when you think about the Baltic Sea region. Because throughout the presentations today, and also other times when you discuss the Baltic Sea region, you only see the maps with the south of the Baltic Sea region. For example, the Baltic ship tour, you make stops in the south, and there was also a map with partners, it was also always in the south. So my name is Jenna Moskova, and I work as Senior Advisor in International Affairs in Norrbotten. So the whole of Norrbotten was not even on the map when you saw the Baltic Sea. So I think that it's important to keep that in mind, and we also have to work with that in the north to get everyone to be involved, because they also don't have this Baltic identity.
Thank you. And we can take two more questions. Gentleman in blue.
Oh, thank you. One. My name is Mikael from Mälardalen University. I agree with you, with Mr. Klaus Hahn, who said that the Baltic region is not really, doesn't really exist today in people's mind. I think Gotland can play a key role in this one. And it's in the middle of the region. And just 2-3 years ago, I heard a seminar here by the director of the shipping company, Gotlandsbolaget, who run the Destination Gotland ferries. They had very serious plans for a ferry line from Slite on east to Gotland to Ventspils. But then it was delayed 1 year and because of some bureaucracy problems. But now, I don't know, have you heard anything? Because Gotland is the most popular summer resort in Sweden. And since people are here in the summer, and a good ferry line to the Baltic states can really be a good thing. Because since you're here on holiday, well, we can take a trip for a few days or a week over there. But that's another thing, just go cruising from Stockholm to Tallinn. Have you heard anything about something news between ferry or ship lines between Gotland and...
Anyone briefly picking up on this?
Just to comment on the question about the south of the Baltic Sea, I think quite interesting about the map. Also, when you see maps of the European Union, sometimes you don't even see, the 4 northernmost counties of Sweden. I think one of the reasons here, maybe that your part of the region is not so much mentioned, is that regional cooperation has always been very obvious for you. Let's look, let's see, for instance, you have the only Baltic actually city, which is one city in 2 countries, which is Haparanda and Tornio, which is obviously since the EU membership was created in 1995, this is one single city. Almost with no passport control or anything anymore. So for you, it's quite obvious that kind of cooperation. And I think the rest of the region really has something to learn from that. It's just the single currency that lacks.
Yeah. Thank you. A very, very, very short question, because Mr. Ambassador will also be given the word again, greeting us, welcome to the reception, but a short question.
Question to Jan Lundin. Tourism, because from my perspective, tourism is not only those would benefit only tourist industry. This is all we should benefit. And this is new lines, new ferries. But Jan, from where to start? Because not only Swedish people do not know Baltics. Unfortunately, Lithuanians, when they plan holidays, they don't have Sweden in mind. Of course, there are some rumors, very expensive, which is probably, it is. But Lithuanians also don't know, Latvians, Estonians, how to bring our region, that will be fashionable to go for weekend in Stockholm for Lithuanians, for example.
Well, I think if I'm going to give some kind of, obviously you need to spend money, all of that, but I think actually we need to reposition tourism, because tourism is being seen as an activity, which it is in a way. But I think we should see tourism in the way that now the United Nations is addressing tourism. They're using tourism as a tool to solve other challenges. How do we create new jobs? How do we create peace process? How do we solve our environmental issues? Well, tourism actually can deliver in all those sectors. Therefore, I think tourism as being treated, and I'm sorry to say this, but in most governments, this is being treated as a marketing issue. Because all of a sudden you can address your private mindset and say, I know what tourism is. That's what I do when I'm on my spare time. And the interesting part here is that the United Nations seeing is on the completely opposite. Let's use tourism to fool the mind, but actually create something useful. If that helps the tourist industry, that's great, but that's not the purpose. But in that way, I think that if you look at the Baltic area, because now tourism is being kind of a side project, and we talk about this all the other stuff, but I think actually what we can do is deliver in all those things.
Okay, thank you. We will close, but since the government was addressed, I thought that we'll give it the absolutely last word to Mr. Oskar Wåglund Söderström.
No, I'm not at all in charge of tourism, so I can't really comment on that, no.
Okay. Okay, I think we thank everybody who participated, presenters, discussants, etc., with a great applaud, and then we will... Then we will hear a few words of welcome by the hosts of the reception, Mr. Jan Lundin, number 1, Mr. Ambassador, and Helén Nilsson. And we will also get a brief introduction to the art exhibition and the vernissage by Torbjörn Limé. Could you all come up on stage? And then there will be a reception. I think, Olga, where is the reception in the tent? Where is Olga? Yes, but could you come up on stage if you want to say something, just a word of welcome, or should we give the word directly to Mr. Ambassador? Please. Yes, Mr. Ambassador, a few words of welcome. You have an art exhibition here. You've been sponsoring this artwork that is on.
I should not